You finally make some time for yourself, and your brain immediately starts trying to get ahead. After enough years of being the most reliable person in every room, constantly managing things can start feeling so normal that you barely notice how much mental energy it takes. There's a kind of exhaustion that's difficult to explain because your life still looks really functional from the outside. You handle responsibilities, people trust you, you usually stay calm during stressful situations. Most people probably assume you're fine because you rarely look rattled. Meanwhile, your brain keeps going long after the day is over. You sit down at night planning to watch something lighthearted and attempt to turn your brain off for 30 minutes, and then suddenly remember 3 things you still need to plan for later in the week. A conversation from earlier keeps replaying because your brain wants to check whether you sounded irritated. A last-minute schedule change affects your mood more than expected because mentally your day was already planned out hours ago. A lot of perfectionistic people live this way for years without fully noticing how much energy it consumes. Eventually, it stops feeling like a pattern and it just starts feeling like who you are. Most emotionally over-responsible people never consciously decide to become that way. Usually, it develops gradually. Being prepared starts feeling necessary. Doing things yourself feels easier than wondering whether someone else will actually follow through. In some families, reacting emotionally only made situations harder. So the child who stayed composed, helpful, observant, and easy to manage often got rewarded for it. Children who grow up around instability usually become very aware of other people's moods early in life. They learn how to read a room quickly and avoid becoming another problem for already stressed adults. Adults start describing them as mature, responsible, independent. And years later, those same patterns often look like ambition, reliability, or a strong work ethic. Underneath it, there's usually someone who got used to monitoring themselves all the time. That's why many high achievers stay mentally attached to responsibility, even during moments that are supposed to feel enjoyable. Part of their attention is still scanning ahead, anticipating, and preparing for what could shift next. A lot of these people spend most of their lives in thinking mode. Thinking feels productive. Planning feels useful. Staying busy helps keep uncomfortable feelings pushed into the background for a while. So instead of fully registering exhaustion, the brain stays focused on organizing, preparing, researching, fixing, or mentally rehearsing future situations. From the outside, the outcome of those behaviors look impressive. People see discipline, reliability, competence. What they usually don't see is how hard it becomes to actually feel off duty, present, at peace. Someone says, "We'll figure it out later," and your brain immediately treats the uncertainty like work. An unfinished task stays mentally active for hours, and even enjoyable plans can feel difficult to fully sink into when part of your attention is focused on something else. That pressure builds gradually. A lot of perfectionistic people become so familiar with it that they stop recognizing it as pressure at all. My client Becca was 36 and worked in hospital administration. She managed multiple departments, handled staffing problems constantly, and had a reputation for staying calm during chaos. People depended on her because she rarely looked emotionally shaken. During one session, she described what happened every night before bed. She checked her calendar several times. Then she mentally walked through the next day, hour by hour, to make sure nothing had been missed. After that, her attention shifted toward conversations from earlier in the day. So if someone sounded frustrated, her brain stayed attached to it. If a coworker responded differently than she expected, she replayed the interaction repeatedly, trying to figure out whether she'd accidentally created some sort of tension. Even small uncertainties stayed mentally active for hours. And at one point she said, "My brain acts like everything will fall apart if I stop paying attention." And that belief made more sense once we explored her childhood environment more carefully. She grew up with a mother struggling with alcohol addiction, and her father emotionally checked out whenever tension increased at home. By middle school, she was already monitoring everyone else's moods constantly. She packed lunches for her younger brother. She avoided expressing strong emotions because emotional reactions usually made situations more tense. Adults praised her for being mature and helpful. Years later, those same patterns helped her succeed professionally. At the same time, somewhere along the way, responsibility stopped feeling like a role and started feeling tied to who she was. Preparation helped her feel less exposed to surprises. Self-reliance felt safer than depending on others. And emotional control helped her feel less vulnerable during stressful situations. By adulthood, none of it felt intentional anymore. It simply felt normal. A lot of people genuinely want support. At the same time, receiving support can create a sense of internal tension. So a friend offers help and your brain immediately starts calculating how to repay them. Or someone checks in emotionally and your instinct is to minimize your stress before they become concerned. Even inside healthy relationships, part of your attention might stay focused on making sure you could still handle everything alone if needed. That degree of self-reliance usually develops for understandable reasons. When emotional support has felt inconsistent or disappointing or emotionally complicated in the past, depending on other people feels risky. So a lot of adulthood becomes about staying prepared and not needing too much from anyone. Those patterns often continue long after the original environment has changed. And perfectionism usually goes much deeper than wanting things to look impressive. For many people, getting things right helps the anxiety back off for a minute. Planning ahead reduces mental friction temporarily. Preparation creates the feeling that problems are less likely to happen. And over time, the brain starts treating ordinary uncertainty like something urgent that needs immediate attention. And that creates constant mental pressure. Plans changing unexpectedly can affect your entire mood. Watching someone complete a task differently than you would may bother you longer than you really want it to. And downtime can feel mentally crowded because unfinished responsibilities continue pulling at your attention. The exhaustion usually builds through years of carrying low-level responsibility every single day. So here are a couple exercises for you to try. The first exercise starts during a normal conversation. When someone close to you asks how you're doing, wait a few seconds before answering, and just notice the first response your brain reaches for automatically. A lot of perfectionistic people instantly want to say, I'm good, or I'm fine, or just tired. The goal is simply noticing how quickly emotional composure shows up before you've even checked what's actually true. The second exercise involves leaving one small thing unfinished on purpose. So choose something minor that normally creates some pressure in your mind. For example, leaving a dish in the sink overnight, or maybe allowing a text message to wait until tomorrow morning, or letting someone else choose the restaurant without researching every detail first. Afterwards, notice what your brain does. Does your attention keep returning to it? Do you feel pressure to fix it or intervene? Does your mind start imagining problems that could happen? You're paying attention to how quickly your brain starts treating unfinished things like a problem that needs immediate attention. A lot of emotionally exhausted people are carrying subconscious beliefs that formed years ago around responsibility, emotional control, and self-reliance. And those beliefs can create very successful adults. They can also create people who rarely feel mentally off duty and are avoidant of their own emotions. Many high achievers learned how to minimize their own needs at a very early age and have carried those tendencies into adulthood. And this creates a kind of fatigue that often stays invisible from the outside because the person still looks functional while carrying it. If this resonated, I'd genuinely like to hear what part felt most familiar to you. And if you want to explore high-functioning anxiety, perfectionism, emotional overfunctioning, and subconscious self-worth patterns more deeply, you can also check out my related videos and my book Unpacked, How to Detach from the Subconscious Beliefs that are Sabotaging Your Life. Thanks for being here.